the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, in a railroad car nestled in the forest of Compiègne, France, the final armistice is signed. The war is over.
President Wilson arrives in France with his own idealistic 14-point plan that he hopes will serve as a blueprint for the post-war world. The plan includes a call for the end of secret diplomacy, freedom of the seas, elimination of trade barriers, arms reduction, and the right of nations controlled by European powers to political self-determination. His last point, which he views as a mechanism for achieving all the others, is an international League of Nations, a forum in which the nations of the world can settle their disputes without resorting to war. But the Allied leaders had other ideas. Georges Clemenceau of France and Britain's David Lloyd George lust for revenge and are offended by Wilson's self-righteous moralizing. Ignoring Wilson's proposal, the victors carve up their former enemies' territories. In order to see his League of Nations become a reality, Wilson gives in to French and British demands for a war guilt clause, blaming Germany for the war. Reparations, to be paid to the French and British by Germany, are later set at $33 billion. Wilson's moralism gets him into further difficulties in Russia. Opposed to Lenin's new order, the president joins other nations in an economic and naval blockade of the Soviet Union and sends U.S. troops to Russia to help overthrow the Bolsheviks. The troops remain until 1920, souring Soviet-American relations for the next 2 decades. When he returns home in 1919, Wilson meets stiff Senate opposition to the peace treaty. To get it ratified, he takes his case to the people of the United States. But the strain of an extensive speaking tour proves too much for the ailing 62-year-old president. Wilson collapses from a stroke in Pueblo, Colorado in late September, and a week later suffers a second massive stroke that leaves him paralyzed on one side of his body. Wilson's stubbornness causes another paralysis. The United States never does sign the Versailles Treaty or join the League of Nations. And by 1920, the nation is facing other, more immediate problems.